Hello and welcome to Roundtable. It only started 14 years ago. Now it is dominating the world of cricket. The Indian Premier League, the IPL, has become one of the most popular and valuable sports leagues on the planet. IPL cricket, it's fast, it's furious, it's colourful, and its worth is said to have gone from $6.3 billion in 2018 to $6.8 billion in 2019. However, is the IPL's rise at odds with the original gentleman's game, as it lures the best players in the world away from their local and national teams? Very good to have you along. I'm David Foster. For 2 months of the year, the world's very best cricketers come to India to face off in nightly, fast-paced 2020 matches. Each tournament attracting hundreds of millions of viewers worldwide. Companies from all over the world are vying for sponsorship, advertising deals, and broadcasting rights to capitalize on the league's rising global popularity. Because the IPL is the second richest sporting franchise in the world, below only American football. And that's after Walt Disney and the Indian conglomerate Reliance Industries paid $6.2 billion to broadcast it for the next 5 years.
So I think the reason why every media company wants a compelling property like IPL because it is a big generator in terms of eyeballs. If you look at the strategic advantage of a property like IPL, it is huge. Any OTT platform in the country today can see a jump in terms of the number of users by 2x to 3x, once they acquire a content like IPL.
But critics are saying this could be bad news for the game at large. So, is international cricket falling by the wayside because of the IPL? Let us go across green English fields to Salisbury in Buckinghamshire, where we see Peter Baxter, former producer of BBC Test Match Special, to Pakistan, Islamabad, and Leena Moin, Aziz, Asia's first female cricket commentator, with me in the studio, Abhishek Jhunjhunwala, former India A-team and IPL cricketer. Great to have you all with us. Leena, I want to come to you first of all, because you said something to one of our producers, and that was, the IPL is absolutely murdering international cricket. True?
Yeah, I feel, cricket is all about the beauty, the originality that test match cricket brings to it, bilateral cricket, countries playing each other, trying to win series, and all that effort that goes into bilateral cricket. Okay, fine. I mean, now we can't get rid of league cricket, but I don't want it to be so long, 2.5 months long, whereby when it's on IPL, then no international cricket is happening. That window is entirely closed. It's a monster we've created. We can't undo it now, but we've got to find a solution whereby international cricket coexists with the IPL. And it shouldn't be that long. I mean, 2.5 months, even this time, the players who are playing the IPL, they look bored. So, international cricket is the real pinnacle, test match cricket. You want to see that. And you don't want that entire window, 2.5 months window blocked. I mean, fine, money is important, commercialism is important, but to have such a long league, 2.5 months, it's not, cricket is not football.
Okay,
So
I'm gonna bring in Jhunjhunwala here,
I
because
want
he was in the IPL.
Test cricket to be the most important.
And I want to ask you, is it really a sport or is it a business now?
I think it is a sport. Obviously, there is a massive commercial side to it, as everyone knows that the recent 5-year TV deal and it's gone for nearly $5.5 billion, $6 billion. So there is a massive commercial side to it, and the benefit is to everyone, not just, I would say, BCCI benefits the most, but IPL. First thing I would say that IPL is not just about the cricketers. It brings in a massive opportunity, a lot of employment throughout the world, not just in India, in terms of people who are working, in terms of people who are selling stuff in the stadium, the ground staff, the commentators, the ex-players who didn't have any work, they're getting a lot of work because of this tournament. We are sitting in London and commentating for the IPL, and that's creating a lot of employment here as well and all over the world. So I think, yes, there is there's always be a negative side to every tournament when it becomes that big as IPL. But if you look at the positive side, what it brings to the table, what it has done for players who are playing recently, and what it has given them. I mean, it has changed international cricket completely. Yes, you've got to give IPL that window because everyone wants to be involved with that tournament. All the players across the world would want to be a part of that tournament because it's a livelihood. As a cricketer, you have a span of 10 to 12 years where you want to make the most of it. And if IPL can pay you those $500,000, $600,000 or pounds in those 6 or 7 weeks, that's a huge, huge benefit for players.
Let me go through some of the figures from this year, the 2022 IPL. Indian wicketkeeper batsman Ishan Kishan, he was bought by Mumbai Indians, $2 million. The Indian bowler Deepak Chahar, Chennai Super Kings, $1.8 million, making him the highest paid Indian bowler at an IPL auction. And the most expensive overseas player, well, he was English, the right-handed batsman Liam Livingstone. Punjab Kings bought him for $1.25 million. Without wanting to be too personal, you played in the IPL. Yeah. I don't think it made you a millionaire, but did it give you opportunities to go and see cricket elsewhere because you were comfortable with what you got from that league?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it gave us, obviously, because when you're a domestic cricketer in India, we weren't paid very well in the domestic cricket. But since the IPL has come, the domestic cricket structure has changed. There's a bit more money in the domestic cricket. The first-class cricketers are making a bit more money. And if you're lucky to be a part of the IPL, because every first-class cricketer not involved with the IPL, there's 27 first-class teams in India. Only a handful of them are involved in the IPL. And they get an opportunity to live the dream and make a decent living. Otherwise, it was very, very difficult pre-IPL. So it has made a massive difference. And not just for the Indian players around the world, the players who get involved, who get an opportunity to play in the IPL. I think it has done a lot of good things for them.
Peter Baxter, 44 years as producer of Test Match Special, described on one website I looked at today as the prime ambassador to the outside world of the game of cricket. Is this cricket as you know it?
Well, not as I ever knew it, no, but it's interesting. You've been talking in financial terms almost exclusively just now with Abhishek. And they are life-changing sums of money that are on offer to these people. And it is having an effect on the game because players will now in England, the English players, there were 9 of them in the IPL, who would all have been unavailable for the start of the county cricket season. So far, I don't think anyone has missed any international commitments in England, but in South Africa, 6 South African players in the IPL decided, and they were left the choice by their own cricket board, play in the test series in South Africa against Bangladesh or play in the IPL. They chose the IPL. That has had an effect on a test series. They will say, oh, look, if it had been Australia or England, we'd have played. But the fact is, it was a test series against another test playing country, and they chose not to be there.
And yet, watching England play in the last few test matches against New Zealand, we've seen a massive influence of the hit and giggle cricket, as some call it, because the run rates have gone up, the hitting is bigger, the adventurism is there. And would that not, or that probably wouldn't have happened, Peter, I would suggest, if we hadn't had something like the IPL.
Yes, I mean, Johnny Baxter has just taken his form from the end of the IPL straight into Test cricket, and tremendous rewards. And what was it, 3 years ago when Ben Stokes played that amazing innings against Australia to win a Test match that basically England had lost. He said he couldn't have played that innings without, well, I think he said he couldn't have played it without 2020. He might have said without the IPL, but I suppose you'd say that the IPL is the pinnacle or the culmination of what we've come to with 2020.
Leena, let me come to you, and I'm going to quote something from Ian Botham, Lord Botham. He was delivering the 2014 MCC Spirit of Cricket Cowdrey lecture. And he said, I'm worried about the IPL. In fact, I feel it shouldn't be there at all, as it is changing the priorities of world cricket. Players are slaves to it. Administrators bow to it. One of the greatest cricketers the world's ever seen, or an old fuddy-duddy who doesn't know his place?
No, absolutely one of the greatest cricketers the world has seen, and I'd have to agree with him because in my first interaction with you, I did say that it is damaging international cricket. The window's too long. Players, their forms are being affected. And I'm very happy that, next month in the ICC meeting, our chairman, Ramiz Raja, is going to take up this issue. The thing is that it does have positives, but it's way too long, and it's going to become longer and longer. There is indication that next time it's going to be 2.5 months long, and there's going to be no international cricket that during that time. I mean, countries like Pakistan, our players are just going to be twiddling their thumbs. So it is sad.
But Leena, let's be fair. Sorry to interrupt, but is this sour grapes because the Pakistani Super League is in competition with the Indian Premier League? It is a minnow next to a great white shark. The Pakistani players cannot go to the IPL, and therefore they're saying it's rubbish. Same sort of thing that you're saying, surely.
No, not at all. I'm just saying it in a cricket way. If the IPL is going to be a month long, it's absolutely fine with me. Month long, 6 to 8 teams, not 10 teams, and 2.5 months long. That window, as a purist, I keep longing for international cricket, test match cricket, which is the pinnacle. I mean, all great cricketers say that. Mike Brené said that last year, I think, a couple of years ago. So the pinnacle of the game suffers. The cricketers who play red ball cricket, they suffer, whether they're from Pakistan, Bangladesh, India, Australia, wherever. And so because, there's a big halt, the 2.5 month halt, and it's going to become longer. So that's what worries me. The game spirit is all about test cricket, and that's just my opinion. And, it's about fighting for the honors in a test match. You just saw how interesting the test match was. And tomorrow, there is going to be an India-English test match, and I can't wait for it. India's involved in it. I can't wait for it because it's a test match cricket. And that's where I feel the IPL getting too long is harming test match.
Okay. Abhishek, I know you want to say something, but let me ask you this. When you were in the IPL, did you regard it as fun, or did you think of it as a profession, a business, a job that had to be done?
No, I think it's not fun. Obviously, you have fun when you're involved in one of the biggest tournaments, but also it's very competitive. I mean, what we have seen, the way the game has evolved, and not because of the IPL. The game have evolved immensely in the last 5 to 7 years because of the shorter format. And the shots we have seen, which has been introduced to cricket or to batting in the last 5 or 6 years. I mean, when I was playing cricket, and I'm not that old, I was playing cricket in 2010, 11, 12 when I was part of the IPL. We couldn't even imagine playing those shots. They were outrageous. And so the cricket has evolved, the game has evolved, and the more the game evolves, the more commercialization will come into the game, and that's why probably, to be honest, I'm again saying that IPL it's not all positive. Obviously, it's a bigger tournament with 10 teams now. They have made it even bigger. It's a 2-month tournament, a bit longer than 2 months really, and obviously they will find a way to accommodate all cricket around it. But I don't think it's gonna harm Test cricket. We have seen just the series against India and New Zealand, one of the best series I've seen in Test cricket for a long time.
England.
Yeah, England. Sorry, England,
New
New Zealand.
You would reference India as probably the best team in the world, but of course on this occasion, perhaps it was England.
I don't think India is currently the best T20 side in the world. I think it's either going to be Australia or England because the brand of cricket they have played in the last few years, I think they've gone past India in terms of T20 cricket and how they have evolved in T20 cricket. And India will have to play the catch-up game to England and Australia.
Let's ask Peter how much things have changed. And I don't want to paint you as the old fuddy-duddy on this, as I did with Ian Botham, but I think 1973, you started, or somewhere around then, first one-day international televised, not many years before that. Did you think at that stage that limited overs cricket was going to kill Test cricket in the same way that people sometimes think the T20 is going to be the death knell for the more traditional forms? Did you think that?
It was being suggested by some people that might happen. And yes, the first one-day international was indeed, first one in England was 72, the year before I took over. I think that we certainly weren't taking one-day cricket that seriously. And of course, we were talking in England in those days of 60 overs a side. So it's a really long match compared to 2020. I think what 2020 has taught us is what is achievable. I mean, quite amazing targets can be achieved, and batsmen seem to have no fear. And there's an irony in all this, because India was against 2020 cricket when it came in England as a way to bring in the kids. You know, it was played generally sort of started at 5:30 in the evening in the English summer when you can play in daylight at that time of day and get a 3-hour game in. And the idea was to speed the whole thing up. You know, play the game quickly. There were penalties if you didn't bowl your overs in time, all that sort of thing. And they condensed the whole game into 3 hours. India, on the whole, the officials in India didn't approve of this because of too quick a game meant less television advertising. Basically, that's what it was all about. And then India won the 2020 World Cup in South Africa in 2007. And suddenly 2020 had to be accommodated. And the ICL started, the Indian Cricket League, which was a private enterprise, started almost immediately.
Which Abhishek played for eventually.
Yeah,
and that, we were discussing before the programme, was frozen out by the IPL because it was seen as a threat.
Indian Cricket Board realised they'd missed a trick and quickly got in, imposed sanctions on anyone who wanted to play in the ICL, and the ICL was very quickly killed off. And
Did you get fined, Abhishek?
I think I was banned for playing cricket for 2 years. I think every domestic cricketer, we weren't even allowed to play office cricket, leave alone anything else. And then, yeah, we couldn't play, even if you want to play in our locality, probably somebody would have come and stopped us from playing cricket.
The cricket police.
Yeah, probably the cricket police governed by the BCCI.
Since you're here now, let me ask you this. And I was going to come to you, Leena, but I will in just a second. One thing I've seen suggested that would be good would be productivity. In other words, your pay, your 1.2 million, your 2 million, whatever you happen to get as a big marquee player, is dictated by how good you are on the pitch. Is that feasible?
I wouldn't just say it's completely dependent on how good you are on the pitch. There are multiple factors. You'll see a lot of cricketers in the IPL who get a massive amount of money. And if you look at their performance for their respective countries and in the IPL, it's not that great. But for whatever reason, they command that sort of a price tag.
But isn't that the point? Surely you should have to produce on the day.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you don't get the bag of jelly babies.
Yeah, I think it should be like that. I think they have to find a way to try and make it a bit more performance-based, which is not at the moment. You'll see a lot of domestic players who are doing far better than a lot of internationals who are getting the millions, and the domestic player probably getting 20,000 pounds to play in the IPL. So they have, I think as the tournament progresses and grows, they have to try and find to make it more performance-based rather than just paying a lump sum salary to somebody without performance.
Leena, it is a massive business entity and there are so many millions, billions, in fact, of dollars in it. What are the possibilities of being able to police corruption on the subcontinent?
Well, you know, like I was saying earlier, that IPL is a very rich league. There is a lot of money you know, changing hands. We know how much the players are played. There have been 2 cases before where the Chennai Super King and Rajasthan Royals have been suspended for a while and then they came back. So the ICC has got to pay more attention around the IPL. And I'm not just saying the IPL is the only corrupt leagues. We've seen these cases happen in other leagues also. But the IPL being so rich, I mean, now I think it's one match. I mean, it pays much more money than even a football match in EPL. So the ICC has to police it better and look at things more closely and make it as less corrupt as possible. Although I don't think so, it can be entirely corruption free.
From a personal point of view, Peter Baxter, you've seen cricket change a great deal over the years. Do you think there's anything they could do to make the IPL more acceptable, if you like, to the cricketing world, if you for want of a better word, those who see cricket as a gentleman's game? Perhaps there are certain tacky things like the sponsorship, etc. at the moment.
I know what you mean. Yes, every time a 4 is hit, it has to be a Smith's toothpaste 4, that sort of thing. I get a bit fed up with that, I have to say. The interesting thing, I think the IPL was the first time in cricket, certainly the first I'm aware of, where franchises came in rather than the traditional teams. And they then did it in Australia with the Big Bash and have done it in other places around the world. And of course, in England, to get away from the traditional county setup, they introduced the 100 so they could have these franchises all based on test grounds. So that I think cricket authorities seem to think is the way forward is to have the franchise system. I'm not sure the average cricket fan really likes that. We'll have to see. Although the various teams in the IPL do seem to get their passionate support. Certainly, we may be in early days for that form of cricket. But yeah, the England and Wales Cricket Board were very, very keen to get the franchise system going, and I'm sure that was the main driving reason behind the creation of the 100 in England. On a plus point of view, I'd have to say the players who play in really quite senior and experienced players who play in the IPL talk of the great benefits of playing with other great players from other countries, and that's interesting. And so to go back really in a way to something that Abhishek was saying earlier, the important thing also for younger Indian players to get the chance, if they are good enough to play in those teams or even in the squads, they get a chance to rub shoulders with some of the great international players.
And that surely must make them better cricketers in the end.
Indeed, yes, absolutely.
Did you find the same thing, that you were alongside people like A.B. de Villiers perhaps back in your time?
I was very lucky to play under late Shane Warne, again, who was one of the best cricketers ever to walk the planet, really. And I've been very fortunate enough to play against most of the players, the greatest players I can imagine, from Brian Lara to Ricky Ponting, and from Sachin to Saurav, everyone. So, and you learn a great deal playing alongside them. Not so much about your batting or bowling, about their match preparations, how they carry themselves on the field, out of the field. So there's so much to learn from them. It's like an encyclopedia. And if you have an open eye and if you want to learn, if you've got an open mind, you can be like a sponge who can just soak in every bit from every angle. And that definitely transforms you into a far better cricketer when you're playing domestic cricket. And hence, I would say that there's so many. You see the bench strength of Indian cricket. At the moment, there are 34 players traveling in Ireland and England. And I don't think we can point a finger on any of those cricketers and say they don't deserve to be a part of the Indian setup. And that's what IPL has done, that it has made Indian cricket so rich in terms of the cricketers they are producing. And that's been one of the biggest change for me, more than the money, more than the commercialization. I think the quality of cricket has come up so much in the last 5 to 7 years.
Can we talk, as we come towards the end of the programme, about who really runs the game in this sense? I've got this. It's from a few years ago, admittedly. Tim May, former boss of the Federation of International Cricketers. He said it's evident that today's players less likely to be loyal to commitments to his home board. And this is the important point. As cricket's employment market is freed from the power of governing bodies, who previously enjoyed an inequitable power base by virtue of being the only employer in the market. The fact is, Abhishek, and this will be for you, Peter, and you also, Leena, is the Board of Cricket Control in India has not handed over the reins, has it, really?
I mean, to be honest, if you're playing in India, if the BCCI is not happy with you, you don't play cricket. It's as simple as that. And probably that's the reason we have not seen any of the Indian cricketers or the players who are involved with the BCCI play in any other league around the world, because they want to protect the IPL, they want to protect the commercialization. Because if Virat Kohli goes and plays the hundreds or the BBL, all the sponsors are going to go behind him to England and Australia. And probably that's one of the main reasons none of these players are allowed to go outside India and play.
And is that healthy?
I think from BCCI's point of view, yes, because they are protecting the biggest property in the world. From players' point of view, I don't think so, because then they get an opportunity to play in different conditions. And when they tour later on, they're used to those conditions. They know what the conditions can do. And they make you better cricketer.
Peter, sorry about that. We've only got 2 minutes. And Leena, I would come to you, but the picture's not very good. Peter, cast your mind forward 50 years when you'll probably be propping up a seat in the pavilion at Lord's with a rather large glass. What do you think the next changes are going to be?
Oh gosh, the next changes. I think as I said, the franchise system is going to go on. I think the Indian Cricket Board at the moment probably is just a bit too powerful. The reason why the South Africans let their players make their own choice about that playing in the IPL rather than a Test series, because they didn't want to upset the Indian Cricket Board, and that's. I think that's probably not a healthy thing, really, for world cricket, as well as the points that Abhishek's just been making. Well, what it'll be in the future? Yes, I suppose every administrator wants to make more money for his team, and so 2020 we know makes the money.
And it may not be 100, it may be down to a 10. Who knows? That would be quick cricket, wouldn't it? Backyard cricket. Peter, thank you very much indeed. Leena, sorry the line's a bit bad, but thank you very much for giving us your thoughts. And Abhishek, great to have you in the studio. Good luck with Teddington Cricket Club, of which you are director of cricket.
Yeah.
And you reckon there's some of the best players in the country.
Hopefully we'll produce some.
Listen, thank you very, very much.
Cheers, thank you.
Indeed, thank you, wherever you happen to be watching this edition of Roundtable. I suppose it's only fitting for me to say over and out. Till next time.